you look back in hindsight, everything is 2020 in hindsight. We make mistakes, we're learning from it in hindsight.
1, 2. Welcome to Hindsight, the podcast. I'm Lee Jones, your host. And look, what if the discipline you've been practicing is actually keeping you stuck? I got my girl here, Bethaney Long, and she's a transformational sales coach and mentor who has trained hundreds of women to speak from the heart and sell from the soul. Now, I'm in a sales organization, so I know you teach this to women, but I'm going to take some of these little nuggets that I learned today and I may implement those. Okay, so just want to say that. With a background, with a background in sign language, interpreting, business leadership, energy work, and yoga, she blends strategy with soul to teach others how to lead with realness and courage. Bethaney, how you doing today?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here with you.
You know, I read the intro before and then I read it right now because I wanted to give you authentically how I felt. And that's why when you say, I'm sorry, but what is the interpreting part? So I can see, like, I learned sign language, or I have a history in, sign language, but you say sign language interpreting. So what's the distinction?
Yeah.
Before we
So
get started. Yeah.
sure. Sign language is a language, right? And it's a language of typically deaf people who cannot hear, right? So they use their hands and their facial expressions and all of that. And so to connect them with folks who are like you and I who can hear, sometimes there's an interpreter involved. And that would be me. That's what I did for many, many years as I was an interpreter, and then I mentored other interpreters coming in, and it was incredibly powerful work.
I get you now. I don't know why I missed that. So, when I was deployed over in Japan, we always had an interpreter. So are you like the person, like someone's giving a speech and you're, I got you. Okay.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
exactly.
I overcomplicated that.
You did. You were like, what is this thing? And I know,
yeah.
you had interpreters all the time, but it's all good.
It's still earlier here in California. Okay. I know
Yes,
you're in
it
your
is.
day. All right. So I'm gonna jump into it because I really want to get into this conversation with you about being stuck and about being empowered and all these things. And I'm going to say some terms like most people. I don't know most people, right? But I'm going to use that anyway. And when I say most people, it's typically me. Okay. So I'll say most people. But most people believe discipline means pushing harder, doing more, or grinding it out. But you say that that's the wrong kind of discipline. When did you realize that, and what changed for you?
Yeah, it's really important. So not to, right? Yes, we need to work hard and challenge happens and we need to work hard in our challenges. But I've been doing this work for almost 20 years now with incredible women. And I was not the burnout type. Like the discipline for me, came in like a sort of a different way. And I was committed and disciplined in things that I loved and not necessarily in like the grind and going until I was flat on my back. But interesting, the work brought those women to me, which, so maybe sometimes I've come to think of it as I was not that type. So people were brought to me so that they could learn something different and feel into something different.
Yeah.
And the discipline and the hard work can be done on the work that we love and the work that we do. But what usually happens is we're working in a pattern. We're working in a perfection. We're working in like I have to prove myself typically. And it's usually, it goes way back. All of this goes way back to many years when we were young. There's something that we're proving, some kind of perfection we have to show. And I know it happens in men. It happens a ton in women. And when we're living our life in that way, it'll show up in our work. And what it shows up as is burnout, basically. It ultimately ends up at a certain age. We can hustle and we can go all in and we can do the thing, whether it's grinding at the gym, whether it's, at the job and in front of the boardroom and in front of the CEO or as the CEO, right? We'll grind. And it's a badge of honor and it's something to be celebrated. And it's keeping up with everybody and who can be there, the latest and all of that. And that's usually what we describe as discipline. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it typically will lead to that burnout. And what I've seen again so many times is women flat on their back. And they're not only, and again, I know this applies to men, but I do work a lot with women, but they're
Mm-hmm.
also managing the home, managing the children.
Yeah.
All of those come into play too. And so now the plate is so heavy and so full, they're in the hospital or they're laid
Mm-hmm.
up on the couch for, like a month or two. And
Wow.
then what happens after that is, oh, I'm better. Everything's fine because now they're back on their feet again and they're diving into the same patterns, same
Yeah.
situation again, unless they've learned something
Mm-hmm.
and then they can perhaps course correct. So we want to apply discipline to our businesses, to the work that we love, but also to what I'm going to say is nervous system resilience, right? We want to have
Okay.
the discipline to our nervous system resilience so that we can be stronger, we can hold more, we can receive more, and we can give more without depletion, without burning down, the batteries so that we're again flat on our backs. And again, I've seen this with both men and women.
Yeah, of course, of course. How do you build up nervous system resilience? Do you just not do as much, or is there some sort of exercise?
Yeah, I know. There's totally things to do, of course, right? And it's funny in the work that I do, I combine both the nervous system resilience
Hmm.
work, which I'll talk to you about, with, concrete taking action, right? Concrete
Yeah,
taking action. And the women that I work with are jumping usually from their professions or from corporate. Some people thrive in corporate and some people thrive for a while in corporate. And then they're like,
yeah.
oh, heart is calling, need to do something
Hmm.
else.
Hmm.
Need
Hmm.
to, I've got to jump ship. I'm done with that. And so in that transition, there's a loss of title, there's a loss of confidence, right? And so now they're trying to apply the same methods, the same proving, the same perfection to their brand, to their work as an entrepreneur, and it's not working. And so without the nervous system resilience, we show up in a similar way, which was fine in corporate, but it's in that
Hmm.
box still. And, Lee, you show up with this beautiful charisma, this beautiful heart that you show up, when you're here. And that's a great thing. And when we are in the box, that doesn't show up as much. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot more muted, and our authenticity, which, that gets thrown around all the time, but it's a word. And, our heart, our uniqueness, who we are, right? The core of what people really want from us when we jump out as to being an entrepreneur or a coach or a consultant, that is what gets lost. So the nervous
Mm.
system resilience allows us to shine in a way because we're breaking down resistance. We're taking away pieces that are no longer needed, keeping the things that work great, but
Mhm,
getting
mhm,
rid of the pieces that are no longer needed and allowing the nervous system to get stronger. And so for me, the nervous system resilience, and that's where the discipline really comes in to play. And it becomes a non negotiable for me and the
mm.
women that I work with, because we want to do the outer work and we want to do, make videos. That's a great, being on a podcast, making videos is a great
Yeah,
test of the nervous system strength, because it's like, okay, you know, people can lead boardrooms and do all these crazy things. And then it comes to a video camera and forget it. It's like all of this.
yeah,
And we start to hunch down and we can barely talk and get our words together. Right. And so it's a different kind of strength, and we can
yeah.
muscle our way through, but then there's something that's dimmed when we muscle our way through. And so
Mm.
I use a couple different ways to get to some nervous system resilience. Yoga has been one of them, Kundalini specifically. And it's really breath.
Hold on,
It's
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. What was that?
yeah,
What?
yoga,
You said yoga,
yoga.
and you said something
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah. Kundalini yoga specifically is the kind
Okay.
of, yeah.
You went
I'm
that
a
was like, I need some
I'm
interpretations.
a talker.
Alright. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And really what that means to me and how that
Mhm.
translates, because I know people are like, ew, yoga. Listen, I don't love all kinds of yoga, but I can give you a story that will
Please.
testify to why this means so much to me. And there's other ways, and I'll explain those as well. But I'd gone through quite a bit in my journey, and my husband kind of went down a path of addiction, and there was a time where, I was done with that, and it really depleted me and my family and all of us, to the bare
Mhm.
bones, and it had to be done, and we had to separate, and
Yeah.
that's fine. He's on his way.
Yeah.
So, but that was, a long time. There was a long time that we had to work through that. And during that time, it was very difficult. And there are a lot of ways I had to show up, a lot of, with a lot of strength, with a lot
Yeah.
of boundary, and not necessarily how I would normally behave. Right. And it
Mhm,
had
mhm.
very, very strict with that. And it takes a toll because that's like a
Yeah.
year, 2 years. It takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on your life, and you look haggard and ragged and all of that, right?
Mm.
And in that same time period when that was done, my believe it or not, like a month or two later, my mom ends up in the hospital, and she ends up in the hospital, and she ultimately passed, but she ended up in the
Mhm.
hospital, and that was another test of resilience, of strength, of
Yeah.
dealing with the medical system, of being her basically case manager. I'm not a nurse, don't play one on TV, but I was
Right.
that role in that
Yeah.
time frame to keep her safe, to keep her alive, basically, with a
Yeah.
lot of the misinformation that was happening, like within the hospital. And I won't go down that road, but the point is, it took a lot of strength I didn't even know I had.
Mhm.
And within those moments, I was at a functional medical doctor and did all the blood work. And when she looked at my blood work, she said, "Wow, okay, you judging by your blood work and everything that's happening to you." And again, I'm looking really ragged at this point, and I'm
Mhm, mhm.
sobbing and basically like I can barely even stand up.
Yeah. Poor
She's like,
thing. Yeah.
"You should be flat on your back. Like with
Mm.
these numbers and your
Yeah.
cortisol and the adrenaline and everything that's happening in your body, you should be flat on your back."
Right.
And like in a hospital somewhere. And she says, "The only thing I can attribute that to is the yoga that you're doing and the work that you're doing."
Mm.
And so, I mean, I knew that inside,
Yeah.
but to
Yeah.
have the confirmation was all I needed. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
That
Double down.
yeah. It's a double down. Hey, I really appreciate you sharing that and giving us a perspective, of things. Because a lot of people go through stuff, right? And we may not, well, everybody goes through things, right?
Mhm.
Some more extreme than others. And you don't necessarily have that outlet or something to continue to strengthen your what is it, nervous system?
Your nervous system. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. You don't have an outlet and you make bad decisions in those times. And when you really need that extra, to get you through, you just don't have it. So one, I
Exactly.
appreciate you sharing your journey through those things, those unfortunate things. And then also explaining how yoga, specifically, what is it called again?
Yeah. The Kundalini.
I was gonna look it up when we get done so I can see exactly what it is. Because I'm one of those people who do not like yoga. I tried it, it
Mm.
hurts, it feels uncomfortable. But if I really sit and think about it, I was in the military for 20 something years. When I first started doing push-ups, it hurt. When I first started doing road marches, it hurt. When I first started running, it hurt, right? And it still hurts, but you get used to it, and then you build up, and then you start to feel good. It's like, oh, I'm really fit. I'm really stretched out, whatever yoga does for you, right? So I need to look at it from that perspective and know that you got to start somewhere. And it's usually going to be uncomfortable when you do change. That's just normal. Okay, go ahead.
No, and I really appreciate you saying that. And there's a couple strategies. So I use the Kundalini yoga,
Hmm.
which again is breath work, is strength work. I'll share a specific one that you can look up because you'll like it.
Hmm.
It's a Kundalini push up, and you can
Hmm.
start there and use your strength. Um, but because that's what I use it for, right? To build
Yeah,
strength, in my system. And then there's also I use EFT, or emotional freedom technique, is another strategy that I use, and
yeah.
I'd be happy to show you some of that too. And I
Okay.
love the two together because they both work on the nervous system. And to me, that has become a non negotiable. So the discipline
Hmm.
is, how do I incorporate this into my life? And it doesn't have to be this. There are other ways. These just happen to be the two ways that I do it
Yeah.
and that I appreciate it and that I've seen results, when I work with women and
Mm.
when we're getting down to and paring down through the resistance, through the
Hmm.
stuckness, through the patterns, through the perfection, through the proving. We've got to get through all of that. And then and this nervous system resilience is one of the through lines that is a whole piece of that. Because when we're out of integrity
Mm.
of who we really are, and we're acting, not that we know we're acting, right? That we're acting in a certain way, but the body knows. The body knows,
Yeah.
the heart knows that we're
Mhm.
acting out of integrity. And there can be there's usually a time, and that's like I said, when they're ready to sort of jump ship because they can't stay there anymore.
Mhm.
And they can't, and I've had that happen to me many times, with interpreting. I loved it so, so much, but
Uh-huh.
there came a time where I knew this wasn't where I needed to be. I was so behind the scenes, which is
Mm.
interesting, and my journey as being a leader and, being on stages and being on podcasts and being a coach and all of this, my system wouldn't tolerate me behind the scenes anymore.
Wow.
So finally it's saying, it's time to leave. And it gets so irritating and so grating and so confronting that
Mhm.
you finally have to listen, or else there's usually something. You've maybe heard the cosmic 2x4 or the
Mhm.
message from
Mhm.
the universe, or however you want to call it. There's a lot of ways
Yeah.
to call it, but there's something that happens. Something drops away, something is gone, and then you can choose not to listen, but it becomes very uncomfortable when you
Yeah.
don't listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, fine. I'm
Yeah.
listening now.
Yeah.
Have you had an experience like that where you like
I'm
finally had to tune in and listen?
I'm trying to think. Well, mine is not that graphic, but I just remember being young, and this is funny. I remember being young, and this may not apply, but I was a super immature, and that
Mhm.
was one of the reasons that I joined the military. Strangely enough,
Yeah.
because I was not that young. Like most people go in when they're like 18, like right out of high
Mhm.
school. I went when I was like 20
Mm.
because I knew that I was very immature. And my immaturity was I had a great job, I think at the time, I was 19, 20. Yeah, I was an electrical and schematics drafter at this engineering firm, which is pretty freaking cool. I'm out of high school and I got this nice gig. I got ties and slacks and I'm thinking this is what adulting is supposed to look like, right? But I
Right,
didn't
right.
have the maturity to be in that space. Like if I stay up all night doing whatever, I'd wake up in the morning and act like I'm sick, right?
Mhm.
Um, I just didn't take the job seriously. And I knew kind of that the military was serious. Now I didn't know all the things that I would learn while I was in that space, right? And how serious they were. But it but it actually helped a lot. Like you learn a lot of lessons. So that would probably be my perspective where I knew I couldn't continue in that route. You can continue to fight through it, but you know, that's me. That's my example.
That's a perfect example because, and there's always a time range of when we
Yeah.
listen and when we tune in, right? So you didn't wait too long, because
Yeah.
there probably would have been other consequences. Other things would have happened to keep proving to you that
Yeah. Yeah.
something
Yeah.
needs to be done. This
Yeah.
is not okay. This is
Yeah.
not going to lead your life, right? Like just another
Uh-huh.
smack in the head. And so that's, what happens when it prolongs. But when you catch it
Right.
early enough, like you were like aware enough to know, okay, maybe this something prompted you, right? Something prompted you to pop in that direction, to say, this is what I want, or this, or at least I know
And,
I can't continue this way anymore because I
and
am immature. I mean, I've got to move on, right?
yeah, and
So
as I'm thinking really quick, and as I'm thinking, part of it also was I probably wasn't ready to be just locked in an office space at that time too. So the military offered me ways to appreciate being locked in that office space.
in a different way.
I'd appreciate it. All right, can we stay out of the field for crying out loud? No, but it's all good life lessons. So,
Totally, totally. All the good ones are the hard ones,
oh
whether we
yeah, I
like it or
know,
not.
I know,
So
I know. I know. Just being tuned to appreciate it and learn, even, when I went to war, obviously some people aren't as blessed and come back, but a lot of us do. We come back fine, not really affected by it. But while I was there, in Iraq, I always try to appreciate the experience. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? Because typically I'm not, you're not going to be in those situations, right? You're not going to be there. So what can I learn from it? What can I
mhm,
experience from it? So I was always open to these different types of experiences. I was always open but conscious, like I know where I'm at, but opportunities to learn something new from their culture, just from the experience itself. And I do that a lot. And one time I got really upset because it sucked. And I'm saying all these beautiful words, right, and experiences, but it sucked being out there. It was super hot. I talk about it's hot here in California, and I had one individual. I know we're going off topic, so just indulge me.
It's all good.
I had this one individual,
Love it.
like he was like, oh, it's hot, and he was a leader, right? He was a staff sergeant. I believe I was a staff sergeant or sergeant first class. I can't remember at the time, but he just kept going off about how miserable it was and this and that, and I went off on him because I'm like, dude, we got troops that are watching us, and we need to, But I went off on him, but I went off because I was miserable,
Yeah.
right? I went off because he was an easy target, and I just unleashed on him, right? And then I realized, wow, that was not right. That wasn't cool. And so I went back and I apologized to him later and all this and that. But the point is, like, I wasn't appreciating the experience. I wasn't appreciating a lot of like the heat in the struggle and the camaraderie that was being built because I was focused on the negative. And once I realized that, just in that interaction, I shifted back into that, right? So bottom line is, people, if I didn't tell you anything, if you didn't hear anything from that story, understand that your mind tells you stories and you react based off of what your mind is telling you, right? So program your mind however you want to program it. If you want to be miserable and hot, that's you, right? I wanted to be in a position of of learning and exploring opportunities and growing from those. So I'm done. It's all you. Everything else, you
No,
talk the rest of the way.
that ties in perfectly because but you have the nervous system resilience. You have that
Yeah.
to be able to shift that and to be able to shift in that, because it's mindset strength, but it's not only mindset strength. I think mindset can get you so far, and I think it's very powerful. But when not everybody can shift it like that, right? And it definitely comes with focus, and it comes with attention and your commitment, right? So I think that is so powerful. And when we can't quite shift it in the moment, then that's when we have tools to strengthen the nervous system, and by turn will strengthen the mind, so that we can hold those places more, whether we're at war or whether we're with family, whether we're watching TV,
Right.
all those places are triggers, right? That that can have us spiraling down. Showing up, kind of all hunched over in front of a video is another trigger, right? It's triggering back in the day, afraid to be seen, afraid to show up, right? And we can say, look, just get out there and just do it, which I do and I think is important, and the mindset's important. And then sometimes it requires a little more work on that nervous system, a little more work with some of those patterns, so that we can get down the resistance and say, and sort of open the gateways a little bit more. Some people can just plow right through, and then a lot of folks just can't. Or there's just too much noise, too much resistance in the way. But it doesn't have to last forever. It doesn't have to keep people stuck forever, which it does and can. People like that. I know people like that. It's the worst when you see, and you just see the potential and you know what they're capable of, and they just cannot get out of their way. And that's really what it's about. And so that's why this work is so powerful. And again, like I said, you came about it in your way. However, that, maybe it was working out, maybe it was all that strength that and being in a place where you had to be mind discipline, die. I mean, that's what we're saying. I mean, that definitely will shake you up. A lot of us aren't in that scenario to kind of shake you up and get you out of your headspace. Right. So we can have these tools if we don't have something that dramatic to kind of smack us into, like, this is the way real life works, people. Come on.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. No. High achievers pride themselves on goals, routines, and systems. But what's something about goal setting that actually keeps people from happiness, especially when it's not rooted in self-love or energy alignment?
Yeah. And yes. And that is it's like the high achieving curse, right? It's go, 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 do, 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 go, go, go. And one of the worst things that I see with high achievers and the curse of this sort of goal setting is it's one goal to get there, to make another goal, and then to make another goal, and to do another thing, and to do another thing, and to make another goal, right? And it's like we're going, 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 going. And then it leads to that same situation where there's no satisfaction. We're kind of
Mm-hmm.
chasing the dopamine hits at this point, right? We're chasing that dopamine, but it ends up being there's no satisfaction, there's no joy, I find,
Mm.
when we're
Yeah.
just achieving. It's
Yeah.
not, there's no joy connected to it. And that's what the
Yeah.
dopamine's after. It's the joy. And
Mm.
so the joy and it will bring you that motivation to keep going when there's an upside, when there's some joy, when there's some
Mm-hmm.
celebration, when there's some satisfaction. And so now you are just do it. It's the same thing as the perfection, same thing as the proving, right? It's like I'm just going to keep making these goals and keep doing them, and then it just puts you on that road to burnout. And something super simple as celebrating. I was just talking to a high achiever yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, so I was talking to her husband who was, celebrating this big, huge thing that he did. And I mean, it'd been going on for a while, which is fine. Perfect. And then she's
Yeah.
just kind of sitting there. I said, well, what are you celebrating? What have you done in the past week or so that you want to brag about and celebrate about?
Yeah.
She's like, I don't do that. I said, I know you don't do that. That's weird. And why would you do that? But you know what's
Yeah.
craving that is the inside part of you is craving that, right? That's part of
Mm.
that nervous system strength. It's part of the inner child. It's part of the work that there needs to be celebration and
Mm.
joy. And when that is not happening, it's just one thing after another. And guess what? It never ends.
Yeah.
So now we're just achieving and doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it leads to exhaustion. It sucks out the joy of life. It
Mm.
sucks out any of the pleasures, right? Well, I can't do this thing of pleasure
Mm.
because I see it in moms a lot where they've got to go, 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 go and take care of the kids and do this and do that and make meals and do the work and be the wife and do the blah, 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 all the things. And
Mm-hmm.
there's never a moment to sort of take in and appreciate, just like you were saying, like to really appreciate the journey, like what's happening, like why am I here?
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
one to-do list. And it happens
Yeah.
in work too, which is one to-do list.
Yeah.
So it leads to and when I look around at the women that I coach, the people that I coach, but also in general, and I'm bet you see some of this as well. People are really sad. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
burnout rate's at like 50%. It's some crazy number of people just burnt out from work, and it's increasing based on all the things that's happening.
Yeah.
And people are exhausted. They're drinking their coffees, like 25 coffees a day and whatever else it takes to keep them motivated, to keep them up. And I drink tea, so I'm all about it. I drink it too. However, not 25, right?
No, no,
And we're
no.
just trying to stay like trying to find the
Yeah.
happiness, and it's like, where's the next happy place?
Yeah.
But we're missing it because there's no celebration, which again sounds completely corny. It sounds ridiculous, but it's one of the major components of retraining the brain and having the experience, the connection,
Mm-hmm.
whatever's being created be
Yeah.
more important than the result, than the thing to do,
Yeah.
right? As we're
Yeah.
just sort of running by, which you described perfectly in your story.
Yeah.
And so that's where we run into problems because again, it's just another exact repetition of what I was saying before and leading right to burnout, exhaustion, sadness.
Yeah. Hey, so let's go from a different perspective. So I know a lot of this is internal, and we talk about celebrating those victories or those successes, right? And chasing that childlike dopamine rush. So from a manager who has a team of high achievers,
Mm.
what would you recommend? Because so many managers, okay, me, I told you that already. but But what do you do to help, like, to maybe recognize or celebrate their successes? Like,
Mhm.
um, because I know when you're working and you're working hard and it's repetitive things, though it's different things, but it's basically the same. How do you help them? And I'll give you one more bit of me personally. Like, I'm always trying to look at my people in I always talk to them and I always tell them, hey, because certain people got levels of power, and I'm like, dude, stop doing everything and
Yeah,
start disseminating some stuff,
right,
because I can't have you burn out,
right.
and you can't have you burn out. You got a family, you got things to take care of, right?
Mhm.
I got a team to take care of. but it's personally for you. So bottom line is I try to see it as much as I can. I try to have conversations as much as I can. I don't think I celebrate the successes as much as I should. I say, hey, I appreciate that, great job, stupid stuff, right? Pat on the back, there you go. you know that seems condescending to me sometimes. That's just how I
Right.
feel personally.
Hmm.
Do you have any way that a technique, a way to celebrate that's probably more receptive and more fulfilling to that high achieving individual?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And it is hard for them
Mhm.
to receive, very hard for a high achiever to receive compliments. It is one of the downfalls, right? So the thing about the high achiever is their hearts are usually really big, big brained, right?
Mhm.
Big
Mhm.
brained and really big sensitive hearts. But everything gets sort of channeled into the brain. And if their heart's into it, that's great. And again, receiving is one of the worst things for them, just like the example that I gave where she's like, what are you talking about? I
Mhm.
don't do
Mhm.
that. And so it's a tough one. It's a tough nut to crack.
Okay.
And it is a tough nut to crack because in the work that I do, and I'll show you like even tapping like right here, which again, you're not going to have them do any tapping, but this
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
one of the ways to work on the nervous system. There's little spots right here, little acupressure points, which helps bring down fight or flight. And the reality is, when we're doing something like this, it starts to bring down our fight or flight, opens us more so that we can think and be more bright, more brilliant, opens our heart more so we can receive more, we can lead more from there, right? So, those are some things that I use, but again, you're
Mhm.
not necessarily going to use. So I think that we can ask them and open the communication, right? Open the
Yeah.
communication. What I know you don't like compliments. I understand that you're willing to just do all this, but you need to really understand how much I do appreciate what you do. Or I want you to give me 3 things that you're celebrating about the work that you're doing. It becomes a rote exercise at first
Mm.
to just sort of do that. And I like to acknowledge all the objections, all the ways they're going to hate it, right? I know you're
Yeah.
going to hate it. I know you think this is stupid. I know that
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
beneath you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand all of those things. And we're trying something different. And I'm trying something different because I appreciate you. I know
Mhm.
you work really hard. And I know compliments you think are useless, but I want to try something different. I want to
Right.
think differently. Right. And being the leader when it comes from you, they
Mhm.
can start to adjust and shift and sort of again, eye roll it. They'll eye roll their way through. And I'm like, I know you're going to eye roll your way through. And but it allows a conversation to happen and it allows the culture to start to shift so
Yeah.
that everybody can be comfortable with this is how we roll now. We do celebrate. And we, with in the company that I was with, right, we would celebrate the most ridiculous things, like the
Mm.
most like we were curing cancer. I mean, it was,
Mhm.
finding ways to feed everybody, and it sounds ridiculous and
Mhm.
it seems ridiculous, but when you start to play with it, and she was the real high achiever. When you start to play with that and the permission starts to open. It's all about allowing, right? It's allowing the
Mhm.
permissions to open. And how can I be a little more silly? Take this a little bit lighter, even though I'm really serious about what I do. And because that's the thing, they're serious about what they do and they got to get
Mhm.
the best
Mhm.
and do the best and they want to perform. And all of that is beautiful. But like you
Yeah.
said, I don't want you to burn out. And this
Right.
is a really important way that I can celebrate you. And maybe it's not public at first. Maybe it's just sort of
Mhm.
something that they fill out and send to you. And then maybe it starts to become public as people start to get more used to it. But it's the conversation and it's acknowledging that you are very clear that they're going to hate every bit of it. That you are very
Okay.
clear. This is
Okay.
against the grain of how they run their lives. And this is dumb. It's
Yeah.
an exercise. And you're going to say, entertain me because this is important to me and you are important to me.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. And the reason why I say I like it is because what you said earlier about how you may externally present yourself in a way where no, I don't want praise, right? But internally, right, it's there. Because I know a lot of times, personally, I just think throughout my life where I'm like, I don't want to, I don't need that, but it felt good anyway
Of course it did.
inside. But I'm giving you an external persona,
Right.
something that's against what I'm feeling inside because
Right.
I'm trying to project a certain appearance, right?
Yes.
Um, and I'm just being honest, I guess, or being vulnerable right now.
Yeah.
So I should assume, and I won't assume, but I like your approach. This is going to be, you're going to hate it, but I care. I care about you. I appreciate you. I respect what you do. Indulge me.
Indulge me.
I
And
love it. I love it.
let's try it out, right? Let's
Yeah.
try it out and see how it works because you're gonna hate it, but we're gonna give it like a month or something, give a time frame, and then we're gonna reassess because again, their hearts are really big.
Yeah.
Most achievers' hearts are really big, but they keep them, just like you said, very much
Hmm.
protected. And I will never be needy. I will never ask for help. These are
Yeah.
a lot of the nevers that they say. I'll never ask for help. I'll figure it out on my own. Again, I was just talking to this entrepreneur yesterday and she
Hmm.
said, well, I'm celebrating this new project about something about publishing and I love it because I'm
Yeah.
learning, but I hate it because I have no idea what I'm doing and I have to like try to ask questions and I hate doing that. I'm like, right, you should have it
Mm.
all figured out, even though you haven't experienced it yet. I said,
And that,
and that's a total achiever, that's a total
yeah.
achiever perspective right there. I should have it all figured out.
Yeah.
I'm not needy. But the truth is they do have needs. They are
Hmm.
human and their hearts are big and they need to be seen and they really crave to be seen for their brilliance. That's what they want to
Yeah.
be seen for. So anytime that you can show them that you're seeing how brilliant and beautiful they are,
Hmm.
then they're going to definitely receive that even more, right? So you can always reflect
Mm.
that back. And as maybe they're sharing how they're brilliant, maybe that's how the question, like, what brilliant thing did you do today? As
Yeah.
opposed to, what have you just accomplished? But being seen for their brilliance and how smart they are is something that they love very much.
Mm.
So that's another level of celebration, right? Their hearts are big too and squishy, but maybe they don't wanna be seen
Mhm.
for that yet.
I did.
But at least their brains, they're happy about that. So show
Yeah.
them ways that they can really, uh, geek out on that and
Mhm,
share
mhm.
that, and that's another way sort of through the noise because it's really important.
I did one thing, man, and it was pretty successful. I need to re-implement it. Matter of fact, someone asked me about it about a month or two ago. I
Oh,
created a form, and it's an appreciation letter or whatever. But it's a form, and everyone that has their iPhones, work iPhones and everything, so they can just go and easily access it. And say you do something, Bethany, you do something that I really appreciate. Like you came on the show, you were busy, but you took time out of your day to come on the show and talk to me. So I could do the form and say, hey, I really appreciated Bethany sharing her experience, blah, blah, blah. Right. And I give them the opportunity. Do you want them to know whoever it is? Like, do I want Bethany to know that I sent her this appreciation? Because ultimately, the form was a part of a metric that I would use to determine who is the most outstanding employee for my department of the year. And it
mm,
would come from customer feedback, it would come from internal feedback, and I would take all these things and I'd weigh it a certain way, and then I'd come up with who was the best, right? But that one was really successful, and I didn't think I was going to get the buy-in. I did what you said. I just thought about this. It was a couple years ago. I did
mm,
what you said, where I said, "Hey, just indulge me. I know this feels stupid, but," and I got a lot of, because I believe the trust is there in the team, and I
right.
try to establish that and get that ingrained. And I believe if they trust you, they're willing to step out of that uncomfortableness, right?
Yeah.
Where maybe they feel uncomfortable saying, "Hey, Bethany, I really loved your perspective on this, and it really resonated with me, and it helped me to do X, Y, and Z." Right? They may not feel that way, or feel comfortable doing that. It's being vulnerable, right? But they did. They were very vulnerable, and I was getting them constantly. Just a lot of internal, just people on the team saying, "Hey, I thank you, Lee. I thank you, Shaw, Harold. I thank you," and it's amazing. So I asked a question earlier about celebrating and what
Yeah.
can I do. They've already shown me that they appreciate celebrating each other or telling each other. So I think I and you answered my question. I think I'm gonna re-implement the appreciation letter. What do you think
I
about
think
that?
that's great. And it could be both
Yeah,
ways. It could be,
yeah.
I'll appreciate everybody. And then perhaps there could be like one little line, what are you appreciating about yourself? Or what is the one thing about you that you
I
also
like
want to
that.
celebrate? Like perhaps adding that one little line in just so that they can begin to start appreciating themselves and seeing themselves and celebrating themselves in a different way as well. Because I think it's brilliant to have it coming from peers and
Yeah,
everybody and customers. I think that's so perfect because they can really
yeah.
take that in and appreciate that. And
Mhm,
one of the interesting things is, and you just described it too, that we always watch for is the deflecting, the deflecting
mhm,
of the
mhm,
compliments, and that is just it's a devastating thing for the system, and so that's
mhm.
what we're trying to get through, and so it's just
Yeah,
another way of acknowledging and saying, "Well, we're gonna appreciate you, and I really want you to take this in." As
yeah.
corny as that sounds, as woo as that
Mhm.
sounds, as ridiculous
Yeah,
as that sounds, we're gonna practice taking in this appreciation. We're taking the time, and everybody's taking the time to write it down, to appreciate you, and the very least you can do is take it in and
yeah,
appreciate it and bring it into your heart. Because again, that's part of being vulnerable. And
yeah.
you're clearly a great model of creating a team that is allowing themselves to be vulnerable.
Mhm,
It's what happens when we start to clear away the resistance, clear away
mhm.
some of those patterns, right? It allows us to show up more authentically and more real. And you've already created that culture. So this is how you can take it even another step further. Right, and a lot
Yeah,
and having them practice taking it in, which again sounds stupid and like it's just, why would
yeah.
I bother doing that? But it shifts everything and the team will be even more cohesive, even more connected, even more into the mission of what you're
Mhm.
doing because they will stay, they will work, they will do all the beautiful things because their heart starts to open even more. And that's where the heart comes into play because it can't
Mm,
just be the brain. The brain isn't enough or we're like robots, right? The
mhm.
heart is what makes us human, one of the
Mm,
things, and what allows us to create these dynamic cultures that are so powerful and so magical, which again you've
yeah.
already created. So that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I like that last line you said to ask so they can celebrate themselves as well. I
Mm,
love it. I love it.
don't
Okay,
send
alright.
hate mail to me.
You might get
take
one.
take
Hey.
full accountability for that one until it starts to get good. Then you can tell them.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna say, watch this video, watch this interview, and this is where this came from. This amazing young lady who is really putting in the work and helping young ladies and young guys as well. I'll
Yes,
call
both.
myself young, not really, but anyway. So you
You
coach
get to
so many.
determine how you feel.
Oh, I feel great. I feel great. My
Mhm,
knees don't, but my heart feels great. So,
mhm, mhm.
all right, so let's get to it. You coach so many successful professionals who still feel stuck, they're frustrated, or they're unfulfilled. What's one hidden pattern or blind spot that you see again and again that holds people back, even when everything looks great on the outside?
Yeah,
I think we talked about it a little bit, but go ahead.
we did,
Yeah.
and totally, and the hidden blind spot is the perfectionism, it's the
Hmm.
proving, it's the go, 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 just like you were saying, never stopping, never
Yeah.
celebrating, the go, 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 but those are what the major blind spots, and it's difficult to talk about being perfect at
Hmm.
times because
Yeah.
when you're talking to an achiever, they do not understand that. And they're saying, but I need to be. Why would I want
Hmm.
to be out of integrity? Why would I want my work to be anything less? Right. I want to be stellar. I want to stand out. I
Yeah.
want to be brilliant. That's totally what they want. And that makes perfect sense. And there's a difference between doing all of that and being brilliant than being perfect. And the perfection is what stops us. And again, that's what comes
Good one.
from childhood. It comes from the conditioning of work. And it is in men and it is in heavily in women, where you cannot make a mistake in parenting, in being a mother, in your work. And what it ends up
Yeah.
doing is that what I see a lot in the entrepreneurs that I work with, and they're again, camera is such a great, it's a great model. It's a great place. That's why I love doing both. The inner and the outer work have to go hand in hand, because it's a great way that shows exactly what's showing up, right? It's exactly what's
Yeah.
showing up. So when everything has to be perfect, I'll be in front of the camera. I'll have some kind of script, maybe, that I've worked on for like 3 weeks. And I'll have about 25 different press record for a 1 minute video, right? 25
Yeah.
times. And I'm like,
Yeah.
not good
Yeah.
enough, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. And then it never gets put out there. And it's the worst, right? And
Yeah.
what it also looks like, again, is that just, it's more of a muted. There's less laughing, there's less silliness, there's less brilliance that comes through, because
Yeah.
there's so much protection happening. So the perfection feels right. It seems right. It seems like this is how I should be. It is how they wanted me before. It's how I made it through. I just did everything perfectly and wonderfully. But it is what keeps us stuck. What the video never gets posted. Nobody gets to learn. Nobody gets to love you. Nobody gets to have the transformation. I mean, I'm working
Wow.
with these incredibly powerful, brilliant people who can change the world with their
Yeah.
perspective, with their modalities, with their
Yeah.
ways of being, right? Like you're doing. And just imagine if you were afraid to hit record and you never were able to do that, or it took you 5 weeks to be able to hit record every single time. That's not that many podcasts, not that many videos, or the editing was like, down to like the nub, where like every little
Yeah.
was edited out, the
Yeah.
filters on. I mean, there's just a million ways that we get stuck in that. And again, it's judgment. It's their
Yeah.
own inner judgment, their own inner critic, which is beating them to a pulp, which again, now we have trolls and all these people. And so it can be confirmed very easily from a comment online,
Yeah.
which sucks, that's where our resilience comes into play, and where we could like
Yeah.
tap. I'll give you a quick little tapping on that. So the yoga I can show you too, but I'll give you a quick little thing right here. So, so this is one little acupressure point, right? And if you tap on it, you feel it. So if you get like a bad comment, or somebody's like a jerk, or someone's an idiot or whatever, what we do is we tap on this and we can just say the things, right? Like how we feel, right? So initially we're like, who do you think you are? You're an idiot. And maybe we're like sad, or like, oh, that hurt my feelings. Or how did you say that about me? Right. That might come up. Or maybe we're angry, right? Or like, you're a jerk, right? All those things. So there's all these feelings
Yeah.
that come up, and we use that to bring them up and out through. And what it does is it creates nervous
Ah.
system strength. So it's not stuck inside anymore. We
Yeah.
move the energy through, so that also we're not perseverating on that forever. We're not stuck on that, because that will hit the inner critic. So that's part of the perfectionism, is the inner critic, right? So the inner critic was somebody else's voice. Now it's yours. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And it will, again, keep you stuck. So we can use that strategy very easily to sort of make it through some of these places where we're going to hit resistance, where I'm deathly afraid. I'm going to press send, and there's going to be someone, and they're going to confirm exactly what I know, that my hair
Yeah.
looks crazy today, that, oh my God, my wrinkles showing through. My voice is too squeaky. I said
Yeah.
too many times. I said this, I did that. It's just going to confirm all of that for me. And then I'll just never, ever do it again, which sadly happens a lot.
Yeah.
And it keeps people so stuck.
Yeah.
And we're like, what is happening? So anyway, that's one of the major pieces that definitely is a blind spot, that feels right and feels like it should be there, so that I can show up the way I need to show up, but it mutes everything. It has us not showing up powerfully, has us not pressing send, not pressing post, not leading the way we're supposed to lead. I mean, it took me, I was not a natural leader. I, Oh, I yakety yak. I can yak on forever now, but I was not a natural leader, or let's say I may have been a natural leader, but I didn't see many models of my way of leading.
There you
And
go. Yeah.
yeah, was real, and that wasn't presented to me until college, until my master's degree, and I had a say to me, "You are a leader. Let me show you some other leaders out there, and you can see where you fit in because what you have, I have a lot of emotional intelligence. I have more of that, and
Mhm.
that, not exactly isn't always the what people want in, in leadership. It gets talked about now, but I've got some years
Yeah,
on
yeah,
me, so it
yeah.
wasn't back in the day, and
Yeah.
certainly not when I was younger, right? It was more of
Mhm.
the achiever. That's what people want, people who can achieve and just do the thing and do the work. They want kids who can achieve, and when we're put in that box, right? That's
Mhm.
the act and be, and there's nothing else that we
Yeah.
can show, and we can't show our faults and all those other things. But as time went on and I started to have different demonstrations of what that can look like, and people could see me for who I really was. And that allowed me to show up in a totally different way. And
Mhm.
then we get to do that, like you get to do that for other people, right? We get to show them we
Yeah.
need each other to
Yeah.
see what's really there and allow that to come through.
Yeah. You know what? I'm an emotional IQ. I mean, mine is higher as well. And I'm,
I can tell.
because you do the assessments, and I'm like, man, I don't want to, but I'm trying to be honest, so I answer the questions honestly, how I feel based off of whatever those, multiple choice they give you,
Right.
and I'm always that because you try to just care as much as you can. My motto is to be more. Like I can be more caring, I can be more empathetic, I can be more understanding, right? And it's just working at that. Now, I had the opportunity to really explore that when I was in the military because you can create your own leadership styles or you can fall into your natural leadership style, right?
Mhm.
And you can base it off like your mentor said, here are some other or your instructor, here are some other leaders, right? So for me, I had a bunch of leaders. I had a bunch of people over top of me as I went through the ranks, and I could see, oh, I don't like how they led. That's not in aligned with me. Oh,
Mhm.
wow, I didn't know you could care about someone and show empathy, right?
Right.
So, just understanding those things, and then you can I feel more comfortable in this space. I'm not the person who I never was, but I knew I had the power to do it. And sometimes you got to do it.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just have to be that person to
Yes.
get things done.
Yes.
Um, but just I love that, just understanding that all of us can be leaders, right? And you don't have to lead like whoever, right? You need to lead like how you are. And the last thing I'll say, because I'm babbling on about this, the last thing I can say is um, strength finders, right? I did the strength finders. It's a little book. It's got like 2 chapters, but the bottom line is it does an assessment on you,
Mhm.
and it asks you all these questions. It's almost like being interrogated, right? They ask you all these questions and the same question in different ways, right? To make sure you're being honest. But once it gets through, it really shows where your strength lies as far as communicating, right? And then you can develop that leadership. Just having an understanding, and mine is always, some sort of emotional or, IQ or something like that. It's always empathetic. You lead by caring. You lead by people.
Oh.
It's never, you know what I'm saying? It's always that. And I honestly don't want it to be that, but now I kind of embrace it. Because,
You're the
because
strong
to your,
military guy, like, "Look at me, look at me."
exactly, because to your point, I have age on me as well. And you understand that it was more of the do this, do that, do this, do that was what was appreciated
Yes.
and what was perceived to be what leadership is supposed to look like, you
Right.
know? So anyway, I digress. I say a lot of
No,
words. When I get to talking, like this shouldn't be a podcast, it should be a conversation. I should be sitting on your sofa drinking some coffee or something. You drink your tea. You drink
yes,
your tea and we just having a conversation because I
I think
love
it's
this stuff.
perfect.
I
I
love
do
it.
too. I love it
Yeah.
too, and I love that you shared that because and that is a thing for, for the men who have the men and the high achieving women, they hate that they don't always have the emotional intelligence, and sometimes they do, but it's just,
Hmm.
again, masked and not appreciated. Again,
Emotional
we're
intelligence.
coming into a time where it's happening, and we
Yeah.
will I don't know how to finish that, but maybe we'll be appreciated, or, the emotional intelligence is more important now, and we're
Yeah.
seeing that, or at least it's part of the equation. And
Yeah.
yes, you're totally right. There are times where, boom, the line needs to be set,
Mhm.
and we can be emotionally intelligent and still set a boundary,
Mhm.
set a line, and say, this is the way it needs to be. I've got fierce Bethany in there as well, along with squishy, fear.
Yeah.
And sometimes the emotional intelligence can come out as like a fierceness too, because you care
Mhm.
so much, right? Because we care so much. So I love hearing that, because it's all the same. And it's a beautiful thing to see someone like you and the people that I work with and the clients, when the layers start to come away,
Yeah.
and the reality, the vulnerability starts to come through. And then we start to see that, oh, wow, like, I am still pretty amazing. Like, even though
Mhm.
I have more emotional intelligence, or even though I'm not perfect, or even though I said this, or I look this way, or whatever the thing is, I
Yeah.
really am beautiful and unique as I am, because that's where the work gets to. It gets to the
Mhm.
unique branding, or it gets to the unique part of who you are, that is your heart, is your soul, is your core. And that is what people love about you,
Mhm.
and everybody, right? And
Yeah.
that's what people hate about you, because what's beautiful about this world is there's so many of us that someone might hate my brand of,
Yeah.
how I am and my emotional intelligence. And I like to swear a lot and say the F word. I don't know if that's appropriate here, but I do. And I love
I do
it.
too.
It's
Yeah.
so fun for me. And if you don't like that, I'm not your girl, right? I'm not your
Yeah.
coach, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. Right. And if you're going to be, Lee Jones is going to be the perfect guy for your people who are attracted to you, who love
Yeah.
working with you, love this podcast, love being with you. And they're going to be people who are like, oh, he's a little too soft and squishy for me, or whatever, right? Whatever they
Mm.
have to say. I don't like that white shirt
Mm.
that you're wearing. So, and, and who
It
cares, right?
matches these. No.
It does. You are beautifully matching today. I bet you're
Yeah.
all put together very beautifully.
Actually, what you all don't know is that Bethany and I got together before this, and we said we're going to color coordinate. All right, no, just play.
We totally did. As soon as you said that, I was like, we're both wearing our white today. It's so perfect. We are in alignment. I love it.
Absolutely.
And it allows us to laugh more. And
Yeah.
here's the beauty of it. So maybe you find this with yourself. When we do, when we start to show more of who we are, we can laugh at the pieces that
Yeah.
used to embarrass us, that we didn't quite love. We can start to embrace those parts of us that are a little quirky, a little weird, a little funny. Like,
Yeah.
I am so weird. My daughter, who's 10, constantly telling me how weird I am. Ma, you're so weird. I'm like, I know I am. And that's why you love me
and
so much.
and love it. And
Right.
love it.
And,
Yeah.
and and it allows our heart to show through, and our truth and our authenticity and the vulnerability, because when we can own it and love it and just be okay with it and make fun of our own selves for it, all those people, it doesn't matter. It
Mm.
just doesn't matter. That comes with age, but it comes with the work too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just be yourself. Be
Yeah,
yourself. I
I
tell you
know.
what, I'm like this all the time. And one day I was having a bad day, and I was on a conference call, and I wasn't myself. I was out of character. And then the call was over with, and you can tell who cares about you, who knows you, who's invested in you, right?
Mhm.
I got a call right back from this guy. He said, "Hey, Lee, you okay?" And I said, "No." I felt safe and comfortable with this person, and I kind of explained what was going on. But the point is, like, if you're faking, if you're trying to be something that you're not, right? Like, you're quirky, and your daughter, some kids are like, "Hey," or some kids are like, "No," but best believe if you change, they're going to notice it, and they're going to be like, "What's wrong?" You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Yes,
They're gonna miss it, and a lot of people outwardly do things, but they inwardly respect you. They inwardly love that part about you.
they
You know
do.
what I mean? So just anyway, just bottom line is, stop trying to be something that you're not. Just be
Mhm.
yourself. So
Right.
much easier. So much easier.
Yeah.
All right. So I got one more thing, one more question. We're going real long here. I apologize. But if someone listening right now is doing all the right things but still not happy, what's one surprising thing that they could do today? One real discipline shift to start feeling alive again.
Yeah, that's a great question. So here's what I would say. I'm going to say they can do the work on the nervous system with a little bit of tapping right here on the collarbone
Yeah.
point. And
Okay.
I just give that one point. There's a few, but because what it immediately does is it just starts to reduce the fight or flight. And that is
Yeah.
what everybody's running around with: super high fight or flight, cortisol, adrenaline running through the system. We cannot be ourselves. We cannot be real if we don't feel safe. You just said, I felt really safe with this person who said,
Yeah.
"Hey, like, what's going on late?" If we're not even feeling safe in our own body, which again, safety is a thing, right? Like, there's
Mhm.
safety, like you just talked about being in war, like there's that kind of safety, or there's I'm just sitting here in my body and my inner critic is going crazy, and there's no way in
Mm.
hell I'm pressing a button to send that video out, right? So I'm not
Yeah.
feeling safe, is really what it
Yeah.
boils down to. Even though it sounds like I feel safe, I'm fine. It's not. So
Mhm.
we've got to bring down that fight or flight. We've got to bring the nervous system to a place where it can relax. So this is literally one quick thing, just tapping on these squishy little points underneath your collarbone that
Mhm.
will, if you just did it for 5 minutes and just talked about whatever you were feeling in the moment, already the adrenaline starts to go, the cortisol starts to come down. It's really
See,
powerful.
that's
Like, you can hear it in
that
my voice.
that's pretty cool that you said that because I was hitting the wrong spot and you said that squishy little
Yeah.
and I
Do
was
you
like,
feel the
"Oh."
squishy things? Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to readjust.
Yep. So collarbone down, those two squishy little points, right? That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
one thing that
Okay.
we can do just in at your fingertips. We could
Mhm.
all
Mhm.
breathe a little bit deeper too. That's really important to have more breath. And that's
Mhm.
where the Kundalini comes into play, where we can, just breathe. And everyone poo-poos breathing, but breathing is really important because it opens the heart, it opens the lungs,
Mm.
again, brings down the fight or flight. And most of us are shallow breathing. And if we're burnt out and we're just doing the next thing and the next thing,
Yeah.
is what it sounds
Mhm.
like.
Mm.
And that
Yeah. Yeah.
is dimming our light. It's dimming our
Yeah.
authenticity. It's dimming our, how we show up.
Yeah. That's good points. I like that. I try to purposely do it because I walk my dog pretty much every morning. Not every morning, but pretty much
Mm,
99% of the time I walk him in the morning. And I have to purposely because I'm always breathing, shallowly or just normally, I guess. And I've taken the opportunity to purposefully, do those deep breaths. And it
mm,
does feel better. Now, I don't know. I need to keep some kind of monitor on me so I can see how my body's responding to it, right? But I know I feel better when I do it. I feel a little more energized, a little more focused. You know what I mean? And
mhm,
I'm also open because some other practices while I'm walking them is to be more in tune with nature
mhm,
or the environment. I'll just say the environment because everyone's not in a you could be in a city and not getting the nature, but just being more in tune with your surroundings
mhm,
and appreciating it.
mhm.
Right? It just helps you out. So it helps me out anyway. So little
Sure.
tips from Lee. I got some too. Bethany's not the only one slinging tips out here today. I got some too.
Let me give you one more. Can I just
Yeah, absolutely.
one
You
more
can give me
quick one
5 more if you want.
about the breathing, only because you mentioned it. So it, we're not real sure sometimes how to breathe deeply, and I forget that.
Yeah.
So to go
Yeah.
back to basics, we can lay down flat. So if you lay down flat,
Mhm.
then you go back to a normal breath, believe it or not. It's like, because you watch babies when they're laying down and they're breathing from
Mm,
their belly's going up and
okay.
down. When you lay down flat, like on the floor or on the bed, you will start to breathe deep into your belly. And that is a normal breath, which again,
Got
so
you.
it gives you a guide to say, like, well, what is that? And a simple little breath is, you can breathe in, hold it for 4 seconds,
Mhm.
breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and just do that little cycle. That's like one little
Yeah.
breath. That's just easy.
Okay.
And it just starts to, when you start to control the breath a little bit, you can start to
Mhm.
see where you're not able to hold it in, where you're not even able to take a deep breath. But it starts to, when you can start to manage the breath, it impacts the nervous system and it gives you
Yeah.
more nervous system resilience. So a little breath there is important. But lay flat and
Mhm.
practice that. Put your hand like on your stomach and you're like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. And then you sit up and you try to model that.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. I'm gonna try that too. And one
Yes.
other thing, just caveat off of that, pay attention to your breathing as well. It can tell you where you are mentally at that time. So you get
Yes.
frustrated, you're breathing hard, all these different things.
Yes.
And that just is a trigger so that you can either continue on that, on that pace or pattern, or you can choose to de-escalate. So anywho,
Love it.
that's all I got for today. So is there anything, Bethany, that I didn't ask you that you wish more people? So is there anything I didn't ask you that you wish more people understood about connection between healing, discipline, happiness, or just is there anything that I didn't ask you that you just want to talk about?
Yeah. No, I think we really covered it. The only piece that I would just mark a little bit because it kind of came towards the end, is just
Okay.
that inner critic piece, which is really devastating to all of us. We think it is a something that doesn't impact anybody because I'm not cursing at you or yelling at you, and I'm not yelling at everybody around me, but it's all inwardly directed. It is just as
Mm,
damaging to ourselves, to the people around us, to our nervous system, to being happy, to
mm,
being passionate, to being creative, to being brilliant. And it's another symptom, like I said, of the being perfect piece. But that inner critic is just something to sort of watch and just notice, as you said, as you just, noticing your breath and what am I saying after I do something, after I celebrate, what am I saying? I'm an idiot, or that was dumb, or
mm.
why do I think I should do that? Right. It's another
Yeah.
piece of the puzzle that allows us to see kind of what's going on, which we think is fine. We're like, well, I'm just criticizing myself. I'm talking to
Mm,
my 10-year-old daughter because you've heard it, right? With social media and all the things, she's not on social media yet, but
yeah.
with all the things that we know are
Mm,
out there, the self critic, the inner critic is so damaging, and it can come very online very quickly at a young
mhm.
age. And then a lot of us that are our age, it's already running and it's been running for
Yeah.
a long time. So again, this little
Yeah.
tapping
Yeah.
point's really powerful in that, but it's just another sort of piece to say, okay, this is what's going on. Maybe I need to, really look at this. Maybe I need to breathe. Maybe I need to tap a little more. Maybe I need to reach
Mhm,
out, whatever the thing is. But it's just a piece of the puzzle that I don't want people to ignore anymore because it's
mhm.
really important. And we can't
Yeah.
be doing this to ourselves. Like, why would I
Yeah.
punch somebody else, or would I scream these things at somebody else? No. Why am I
Yeah.
doing it to myself? It's like so crazy. But it just becomes part of the talk. So we don't even notice it.
That's dope. That's dope. And that's graphic. Why would you punch somebody? Yeah, I like it. Anyway, I like it. I'll leave that analogy alone because but it is important. It's all about those stories. I think I alluded to it on here, but I know I talk about it a lot. Stories that your mind tells you, right?
Yes.
Your inner critic. That's beautiful. It took me a long time to do a video podcast because I wanted to do a podcast for certain reasons, and I was like, well, I'll do an audio because I don't think I'll present well or I look good enough to be in front of a camera or I don't talk well. You talked about the editing too. Oh man, I used to take out every and and I say, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it in there because I think that's how I talk anyway. So why try to be
Right.
something that I'm not, right? So the thing that I try to do now is to not do it as much, not say
Of
a
course.
lot, and not say a lot, but it is who I am. So own it, be it, love it. I like it.
Yay.
So we didn't talk a lot about this. We didn't talk anything about your company, but how can our listeners stay connected with you and learn more about sales super skills or the powerful work that you're doing with entrepreneurs?
Thank you. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Instagram's the best way to find me right now. Just hop on
Okay.
Instagram. I have a lot of, videos going up and a lot of strategies that I'm popping up there. So it's a
Yeah.
great way to stay connected and stay in tune. I've got an event coming up in September, so you can find out more information there. Is a good way to do it.
I love it. And what's the name on Instagram? What's the title?
It is my name. It is Bethaney Long. And it's
Just straight
Bethany.
no underscores or nothing
Yeah,
like
just an
that?
underscore Bethany, I think
Uh,
underscore Long.
uh, I'm about to say, how the hell you do that? I got mine is Lee
Uh,
Jones, so I gotta be
yeah,
that's
it's like a
why
spaghetti.
I settled on, and I was surprised it was there, but I settled on I'm Lee Jones, and it was there because every time I put Lee Jones, like Lee Jones 7349128 and I'm like,
Right.
I
We're
don't
like,
want to
"Oh my
have
god,
that.
there's 10,000 things there." I know, and it's funny, I'm laughing, I'm like, "I don't even know what it is." Yeah, it's Bethany underscore Long. There you go.
Okay, there it is. All right, thank you so much, Bethany. This episode reminded all of us, okay, me, that real discipline isn't about control, it's about connection. And when we connect with our truth, we rise. And I just want to thank you, Bethany. We understand how to spot the patterns that limit us, feel our way through the pain, and rewire our lives with love, purpose, and power. And if this hit home to the listeners, this hit home. I hope it did, because I was pretty vulnerable today. I'm telling you some stuff about myself that I don't tell people. So I hope that you appreciated that. And if you enjoyed the episode, go ahead and share it. Follow the show and keep leaning into your own hindsight moments. Thank you so much, Bethany, and to all of you for joining us. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for joining me here on Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. And while I have you here, why don't you take your mouse, go over and click on that subscribe button. No, not right there. Over to the right. No, down, right there. Boom. Thank you. Now, thank you for subscribing to Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones.